All right, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. So today we're going to do something a little different. So we still have the rented Prospector, but what we're going to do is we're going to change the mining head out on it and put a module on it. Um, you can't do this through the vehicle loadout manager. You have to do it manually. So that's what we're going to do here. I've taken the liberty of purchasing a Hofstad S1 and a Reiger C3, which will actually give us higher power. So with this combination and a gadget called the Saber, we can crack up to about 14K rocks. So as you can see, I removed the old head. Key thing to remember here, though, is you have to take these off when you're done mining for the day, so that way you don't accidentally leave them on and lose them when your rental runs out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the Hofstede on, and I'll have to test this yet for 4.0 and make sure it works. You also have to unlock your ports. You can do this in the ship itself when the pilot seat. You actually right Alt K will unlock the ports. You can also do it in the thought menu, which is reached by going to left Alt F. And you basically just gotta put this where it belongs, and it's got to be facing the same right way and everything. And again, we're on our little path here to try to be able to afford a ship, so we don't have to continue to rent one. I always forget where these things go. Apparently, it's on the bottom one, I'm guessing. But we'll see. Yep, there it is. All right. Whoops. Don't do that. All right. So apparently, we are turned the wrong way. There we go. All right. So there we go. So now we currently have a Hofstede and a Reiger C3. That'll actually not quite double our power compared to the Arbor. You could have theoretically done the same thing. Just bought a Reiger C3 and put on the Arbor because it has a module as well. But I personally like the Hofstede, and at 13 grand, it's really not too horribly expensive. The Reiger C3, on the other hand, is very expensive. It runs about 60 grand. So yes, those are all out of our pocket right now. However, you only have to buy them once, as long as you don't lose it or forget to take it off the ship before you turn it in. All right, so we verified that it's working. And now we'll go ahead and lock the ports. When you first bring it up, they won't look like that. You'll have to hit left alt and then F. And then you'll probably have to go into like action, ship, and look for it. At this point in the process, being the fourth video, you should have a little more experience with flying, so feel free to put the landing gear up to get out of the hangar faster if you really want to. Again, we're going to do the same thing. Drop down below the station so we can actually map out our jump. It's actually a good process to get into, whether it's selling or going someplace else from another station. See, in this case, we're still obstructed, so we need to move some more. Remember, we're going to have to go away from the sun to get the selling from the crew L1. So we'll go down here. All right, then we'll go ahead and bring up F2, bring up the map. Just hit it. And we'll start a jump. I'm going to actually remove most of the jump from this, so it'll be a lot quicker. Trying to keep these episodes to less than an hour, hopefully. Alright. And we're going to do the same thing we have been. We're going to find a spot. We're going to jump to an OM first. I like 3 personally when it's on the front side, on the sun side. Typically, if it's not on the sun side, then I usually go for OM4. Alright, and then we're just going to aim for the planet. Kick our speed up to full. You might have to adjust your speed limiter just to get the full range. Once we get up to full speed, we're going to hit C to decouple. And we'll ride that down to the planet. The moon in this case. And once we've seen the altimeter come up, we're going to go ahead and hit coupled and then drop out of nav mode. Because at that point, the way it looks like lately, we'll be below 10 grand. And you can mine on the daylight side or the dark side. It just depends on your preference. Some planets are easier to mine on the light side or on the dark side, like Lyria. Selene is actually fine to mine on the light side. It's actually preferable. Go ahead and set up my extended hood here so I get the altimeter. That's not a default now. You'll also know because the yaw axis will come up where it shows like, 0 going up to 85 and then down to negative 85. When that pops up, you'll know you're in atmosphere. And if this is a little too close for you, you can always slow down back farther. It's all a matter of preference. See, there we got our altitude bars, or our yaw pitch bars, and then we got our altimeter. So now we'll go down, we'll drop down to under 3, and then we should be able to start pinging. All right, and on this and the next run, we're going to actually start looking for some of our tier 1 ores, just so you get an idea of the difference, and we're going to go ahead and refine them, assuming we find enough. What I define as enough typically is I need at least 10 plus SCU of a tier 1 ore in the bag before I'll worry about refining it. Now, theoretically, this shouldn't be too difficult, especially with the Hofstede. That's a recent development. Used to be you couldn't change the setup on the rented Prospector at all. And now you can as long as you do it manually and not through the VLM. It's in the VM, it will actually show locked. Just keep that in mind when you're trying to put them on or remove them. And there's a lot of different ways to scan and so forth. This is the most reliable to me. Basically, I just head for a patch of rocks and then I check them. Some people will tell you that you can actually go into V mode or scan mode and actually try to see what the actual deposit consists of. But the way scanning's been working lately, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I just prefer to just go ahead and do this. And if I don't like what I find, then I move on to the next patch. All right. So here we've got some Bexalite. And then this other rock over here to the side, we've got some gold. Or no, we got more Bexalite. And then over here we've got... I'm not too worried about that. Grisium is second tier, so we're not too worried about that. This one here, though, we've got Bexalite and some Epistonite as a secondary ore. And then aluminum, so this one shouldn't too bad. And there's no reason with the Hofstede and the Reiger C3 that you shouldn't be able to average about 100 grand plus per trip. So figuring you can do about one trip every half hour if you're actually being pickier, and you can still make 200 grand an hour, which is still more than we were making with just the arbor. The difference is you'll have to actually refine this if you want to get that 200 grand an hour, which means you'll have to wait roughly about a day for each load to refine. And of course, you'll have to pay the refinery fees, and then you'll have to have a ship to transport. So we're going to go ahead and kind of simulate that or walk through that just so you know what you're looking at cost-wise. So we already know the Prospector runs about 73,000 a day. I believe the Cutlass Black runs about 50 something. So we'll look at that later. When it hesitates like that, it's always a good idea to back off just a little bit, just in case. And then if you actually are in mining mode, your fracture mode, and you see the bars like that, then that means that you can crack it again. If you don't, then it means you can't. So kind of like this one right here, you can crack again. All right. All right, so we got another Bexalite there. That one's 14. I'm not going to worry too much. But let's see if it'll crack. So that might be a bit much right now. I could probably get out and put a saber on it. But realistically, we've already got a 12K or so that we already cracked. So we probably don't need to worry about this one too much. Let's see what else we got here. So we've got, there we go, we got a gold one there. Gold's another one that's tier 1 ores, so. And we got another Bexalite rock, so we'll go ahead and crack this one probably. Might as well. Now we can. Bexalite is a really good one because it'll fill you up a lot quicker. You get more out of it basically. Again, we're going to use the same method we were even with the arbor. You're going to drive your laser up to about 100% and then back down when you get close to the green. You may not have to go all the way up depending on the size of the rock. Notice that one had no green or red bars, so that was extractable. So is that one. I didn't see a lot of high percentages on the other one either, so we're going to grab what we can. There's the high one, so we'll take that. As you can see, the Bexlite's a little below the aluminum, and then it overtook it. And that's even with most of the rocks being at 50% or less Bexlite. So that's one of the nice things about Bexlite. So if I have the choice between Bexlite, Terranite, and gold, I'll almost always choose the Bexlite if it's available and I can get it. But just to give you kind of an idea, maybe we'll go ahead and crack this too. All right. So drive it up into the green just like we have been. And hold it there until it cracks. All right, just wait for it to break here. All right, then we're going to look for some pretty decent size percentages. So that's not too bad. It's pretty low. So we got a couple of 40 something percent chunks. There's a higher one. And none of them are very big, so we'll go ahead and grab some of these decent sized chunks. Now you can see that the gold is not going up anywhere as fast compared to the aluminum. I mean, it is going, but not quite the same. So obviously, we typically want tier one ores, either quantanium or bexlite, terranite, or gold. Of those three tier ones, not counting quantanium, because you pretty much always want to take that if you can, no matter how much it is, just because of the sheer cost of it. I mean, unless it's going to be some minute amount like half an SEU, but even half an SEU is going to be worth, 12 and a half grand at Orison or New Babbage. Um, so yeah, so we want to do that with the tier twos. You have like agricium, hephistonite, borace, laranite. Of those tier two ores, the one you're looking for if you're going that route is borace, Borase. Until such time as 4.0 or crafting and mining comes out, and then all bets are off as far as what ores you need or you want. Of course, at that point, we probably won't be buying it and selling it quite as much, or mining it and selling it as quickly either. And then you will get, once you get up to about the 10K range, you may get pieces that you have to re-break. Got a little bit of server lag here. Unfortunately, this Bixenite's not breaking that great. I mean, they're not very high percentages anyway, but they're really not breaking very well either. You could offset that with a. There is a gadget for that. Optimex will actually give you a better possibility of it fragmenting off in larger percentages. I think they call it clustering. But that gadget costs like 20 something thousand, like 25, 26, something like that. And then you go through having to carry two separate gadgets, and yeah, not necessarily ideal. All right. So, same methodology we've been using. I mean, it's pretty much going to be consistent. The only time we might have any difference is probably when we're doing Quantanium. And I'll probably look and see at some point if I can find one of those to do a video for you. It got kind of high, not quite in the red, but up there. So I backed way off. And we're just going to bring it up and keep it in the green. Didn't take much for this fragments. So fragment wise, your best bet if you have to re-break a piece, like break a fragment, is you want to start out as low as you can and just gradually build up till it starts moving it, and then get it to go up and slow it down once you get into the green. If you think you're getting carried away, don't be afraid to drop it down to zero and like restart. So it's better than blowing up the rock. And everything bounced back over here where it started. All right, and we're looking for like at least 30 or 40% pieces if we can find them. Obviously, we'd prefer much higher than that, but you're not always going to get it. If you're having trouble seeing these, you can actually use your light on your ship. I don't really need it for what I'm doing, but don't be afraid to use it if you need to. Definitely could have broke better, but it is what it is. So your options are basically sort through this and pick out what you can, get as much as you can, or just move on to another rock. I've done both in the past, so it just depends on how picky you want to be. But I'll take some 40 percenters. That's going to bring us up close to poles. So, and then I'll just cap off. There we go. You got rocks that are in the ground. Keep in mind, even though you see the rock, it might be in the ground. So you might not be hitting it. You might be hitting the ground instead. You might have to move the extraction laser up a little bit. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and jump into nav mode. Go ahead and hit up on out of the atmosphere. You got to get up above like 4K in the altimeter. And that'll let you jump. And then you go ahead and set your path to crew L1. Or whatever mining station you're using. In this particular case, we have to take a little side trip to get there. Again, there's for those that didn't know that little notice that little transition. I cut out the jump, so there I don't have some super secret quantum drive that lets me jump straight to a station in like seconds. All right, and again, just like usual, we're going to cruise on in here until we get close enough. Then we're going to jump into SCM. And then we'll call for a hangar and land. Because we don't have Quantanium on here, we can go ahead and repair, refuel, and so forth, and then just leave the ship in the hangar when we actually go to refine. If I have Quantanium on, I don't do any of that until afterwards. I just go ahead and store the ship as soon as I land and turn it off. Always make sure you turn it off, though. Like at least the engines by hitting I. But again, just get lined up on the hangar, try to go straight in. You don't want to clip anything, especially if you have Quantanium on. Clipping the hanger on the way in can actually cause it to explode. Apparently we took a little damage there. See the sparks coming out. Alright. Go ahead and shut off the engines using I. Hit F1. Get landing. Go ahead and repair and refuel. And then we're going to go ahead and hit Y to get out of the seat. You got to hold it. We'll hit F to get out of the door and exit the ship. Once we get over here to the outside door. And then we'll go from here, we'll exit the hangar and go to the refinery. And we'll actually probably bypass all the doors or all the elevator rods. Elevators still have issues, so if you hit it and it doesn't come up, just hit it again. Alright, in the refinery, gonna head out here. And unlike the last time, we're going to, instead of going to the ore terminals, we're going to go to the refinery terminals, which are straight ahead through the door when we get in here. And we're going to go ahead and begin. Select our prospector, hit set up work order. We're going to go ahead and choose Dynamic solventation for the method. Sorry, I'm bringing up the regolith. Also, a video on that if you're not familiar with it. It's great for mining. All right, so we're going to pick Dinic solventation. The only two you'll really use here are Dinic solventation and ferron exchange. Ferron exchange is about half the time, but twice as much. So Dinic solventation is the best return for the least amount of money. We're going to go ahead and put our different metals in here that we're going to use, that we're going to refine. In this case, we're going to do all 4 of them, just not the inert. You could actually leave out the aluminum and hephaestonite if you wanted to make it a little bit quicker, but with just 32 SCU of storage, it's not too bad. Go ahead and put our time in here. We'll go ahead and select crew 1 as where we're refining. Orison was where we're going to sell. And put our refinery fee in here, which is the 6708. Then you can see we're going to make 98K off this net. And we're going to have about 28 SCU. So we're going to need a cargo ship that will at least hold 28 SCU. And then you can do the refinery terminal how you want to. But usually what I do is I will usually start the work order. And then once I get done putting the information in regolith, then I'll go ahead and enter it, hit accept. All right, so that's our first one. We did that one in roughly about a half an hour. Just to show you, the Cutlass Black is available here as well. And it is 52,919, so almost 53,000. So now we won't need that right now. What we'll do is we'll probably do all of our refining first, and then we'll rent that. We'll just make as many trips as we need to. The next one up from that is the Freelancer that you can rent, I believe, and it's like it only has like 64 SCU, and it literally is like 90 grand. And I believe there's places where you can actually relent the Taurus as well, which is 170 something SCU. So you'll make fewer trips, but of course it costs more than the Cutlass. All right. So now we're back in the hangar. So since we have this rented for a day, we're going to go ahead and take another trip. Now I'm kind of doing this piecemeal as I have time to do these videos. What you could do is if you know you're going to be off for like the whole weekend and you're going to be able to do a lot of mining in order to build up the funds to buy like a Vulture or a Prospector or whatever, you could actually just rent it for the day and spend all day mining. I have other commitments and other things to do, so unfortunately I can't do that. So I'm going to be paying out a little bit more for rental fees than what you need to. So just keep that in mind. So if you can set aside a good block of like 5 to 6 hours of mining, or even 3 or 4, then you're going to make it work a little better. You won't have quite the investment. And again, I chose to put a Hofstede and a Reiger C3 on this, which costs about 73,000 between the two. If you just want to keep going with the Arbor and just carry a Saber with you, you've knocked that down to like 13 grand. Just having the Saber. I have the Saber, the Hofstede, and the Reiger, so I'm actually looking about 86,000 just in those components. But it does make it a lot easier to crack bigger rocks. Also, make sure you keep an eye on your liquids and foods. Don't want to be getting hungry or dehydrated. Doesn't really affect us right now, but eventually it will. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and take off and go do another one. And same method as usual. Call for the exit to the hangar. It's all listed as a landing request, whether you're taking off or landing. It's the same thing. We're going to head down below the station and do it again. And then we're going to jump again. All right, same process we've been using. Going to jump to an OM. I'm going to look for OM3, but any of the other ones will work if you have to. There you go. I think 3 is actually on the back side of the planet now, so we'll go to 4. And we'll wheel around here and all right, same as usual. You're in nav mode already, so just increase your speed if you haven't already. Then once you get to your max speed, go ahead and hit C to decouple and ride it down to the moon again. All right. And again, it's all about what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable going down to 10K before you come out of it nav, then don't. You figure normally when you jump into a moon or like a location or something, it brings you out about 20 grand away. So, I mean, if you're more comfortable with that, go ahead. Just know it'll take you a little longer to get down to the surface. But again, we are going to stay away from the populated, like the mining outpost and so forth, because that's where pirates will look for miners. Again, we're looking for the pitch bars that pop up or the altimeter, either one. Once either one of those come up, then you're good to go to SCM mode and put it back in coupled. Your choice on which way you go. But I mean, really, the closer you get to the planet or moon, the quicker your trip is. The less time you spend flying to and from it and actually mining, the quicker you're done and heading back to the station. And it's really all about quantity. I mean, it's about quality as well when you're refining, but it's still about quantity. You can actually make 100 grand a trip easily. However, you can get as many trips as you can. So if you can get 3 trips in an hour instead of 2, well, now you're talking probably more than 100 grand. Or 200 grand, or whatever the case may be. And it's the same case with the Arbor without any, that's just straight stock rental, where we were selling ore instead of refining. It's all about the numbers of trips you make. I mean, obviously you want to get good ore, but You want to actually make as many as you can too. At least in the beginning when you're starting to earn. Once you've actually got your own prospector, got your own vulture, then you can take your time doing stuff more. Right now, the whole point of it is to get yourself up and running, especially if you started out with just the like a cutter or a starter ship. Because once you actually have a prospector or a vulture, then you're going to be able to make money a lot faster and in higher quantities, especially if you get a vulture, because you don't have to rent a ship to transport it. Which is why usually I say if you like salvaging, you should be aiming to get a vulture first. Because once you get a vulture, you can pretty much buy anything else you want. It just takes time and effort. Prospector is nice because you can probably make just as much on a load once you actually get everything set up and running. And you know what you're doing. However, or hourly anyway, you can make about the same amount of money. But the downside is you have to pay to refine it, and then you have to transport it, and you have to have a ship big enough to take the whole load out. You can't split it from the refinery. All right, so in this case, we can't break the rock, so we're going to put a gadget on. In this case, we're going to use a saber. That'll actually reduce the resistance. All right, and the way we do this, we actually have it on our back right now because it won't fit in our backpack. So you'll hit 5 until it shows up in your hands. As you can tell, mine's got a little bit of damage. You'll hold the left mouse button till that hologram comes up, and then when you have it where you want it, you'll place it. And then once you actually get it here, then you'll adjust these. And it's not giving me a number yet, but so we'll go ahead and reset all the way to 0. Try that. If that doesn't work, we'll reset all the way to the max and try that. There we go. Now we're getting a reading. All right. So now we're at 43. We'll take it up as high as we can get it. In this case, looks like 74. We got it up to about 82. And you just got to play with these sliders, going round and round until you actually get it where you want it. And once you get to 90, then you can activate it. There we go. It'll activate it. Now that's sparking, so you know that's starting to malfunction. So at some point I'll need to buy another one, but I'll keep using it until I can't use it anymore. Looks like I'm a little off here, so don't worry about it if you don't see the F. Just go ahead and hold F and right click on the panel or left click on it to get in. All right, then we'll go ahead and get up above it a little bit here. And now we'll go ahead and hit it with the laser and charge it up. You can see that actually gave us a pretty good window on there too, in the green zone. So we couldn't move it at all before, and now look what we're doing. Now it's actually moving not too bad. And it's a bigger rock, so it's going to take a little more. And a lot of it also has to do with what the composition of the rock is. So in this case, we got Terranite. So even though we're sitting at about 13K, it's going to take a little longer. Like I said, with this setup, the max you're looking at is probably about 14,000, roughly, give or take a little. And again, depending on the composition of the rock. All right, we'll get that up into the green zone, get it charging. We'll just kind of adjust the power as needed to keep it in the green zone, usually in the bottom half, preferably, until it breaks. All right, now we may have to actually re-break some, but before we do anything else, we're going to go ahead and land, and we're going to go ahead and get our gadget, assuming that it's still intact. And you can look for like the tail. Go look closely to where you actually put it, and look on the ground. It usually falls off. Usually you'll have flashing lights or whatever. And then you just hold F to equip it. And that will usually sometimes put it back on your pack. Sometimes it'll just stay in your hand. You'll have to hold R to put it away. All right, so there we go. All right, we'll go ahead and take back off up here. Then we'll look and see what we need to break. Because chances are with the rocks this size, we're going to need to re-break some stuff. Notice that one doesn't have a charge zone or an overload zone, the red and the green. So that means we can just pick that up. And since it's about 45%, we're going to go ahead and grab it. All right. Again, we still got a little lag here. I apologize. I don't hear the sound coming through from the game. So apparently I need to adjust the settings some more. All right. So fragments work the same way as a full rock, just obviously smaller. So you don't need as much power. You notice here I'm only at 33%. So keep that in mind. You want to go ahead and just drive it up slowly till it's moving pretty good. And then make sure you're backing off as soon as you get up in it. All right. And sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes they'll come back together. And another one we can't. Well, sometimes it takes a second to get it through your thick skull that you don't have to break it again. That one's about 31%, so we'll go ahead and grab it. Although some of these other chunks might be better, but we've still got room. So, and it'll make some room so we can get to other ones. So, it's like our break here wasn't very good, unfortunately. So we'll have to break some of these other ones to get up the full load. You figure right now we're a little over half full. So All right, so I got this one charged. Let it break. We'll see where we're at. And it's actually a extractable rock, and that one's a breakable. So we'll go ahead and break it too. Go ahead and break it, then we'll start picking up the biggest chunks we can get, or the highest percentage anyway. All right, there we go. That one's been broken. All right, now we'll go back through and look and see what we got. And yeah, don't do that. That's not a breakable rock. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and start picking up some of these higher rocks. And again, we're just going to move around and look. As we find higher percentage rocks, we're going to go and grab them. And we're just going to keep doing that till we're full. If we needed to, we'd go find another rock, but I think we'll be okay here. Hey, when I'm doing this, just trying to make money as fast as possible, I'll usually pick up anywhere from about 40% or up, and then I'll go back through and grab the 30s. And then if I have to, I'll move from there to whatever other ones. That's a decent one. There we go. All right, just a little bit more and we'll be full here. And it pays to go for the higher percentage ones, even when you're getting close to full, because that's just that much more that you'll get of that particular tier 1 ore. All right, so again, we're full. And I would assume, much like you could change the mining head and put a module on here, you could probably replace the bags, but it doesn't really pay to do it for the rental prospector. You're better off to just leave it at the 32 SUs. All right, and if you have that happen where the dotted line disappears, it means you don't have a line of sight to the station. So you're going to have to move around until you find it. I'm not going to cut all this out just because you'll see what I have to go through sometimes to actually get the path. So we'll just keep doing it until we actually get where it locks on. All right. And we're still not in a place where we can see it. So let's try again. All right. Go ahead and go here, give it a try and see what happens. All right, looks like we got it now. All right, and away we go. All right, same as usual. Go in at nav speed so you get close enough, and then drop into SEM and call a hangar. Go ahead and land. Go ahead and repair and refuel, and then we'll go down to the refinery. At this point, the coming and going should be pretty much kind of getting more familiar to it. So you got to be getting to the point where you can actually handle the ship a little bit better. And that's another thing that's nice about doing this is it actually forces you to do a lot of flying, a lot of taking off, landing, like on every trip. So therefore, you start getting more accustomed to it. So even if your ultimate goal is PvP or ship to ship combat, I think doing mining and so forth or salvaging in the beginning is good for you because it actually gets you basic flight until you're more comfortable. And and then of course you can always buy, like if you have no interest in continuing in mining and salvaging, you could always make enough doing this to go buy a fighter. All right. So let's go ahead and head for the refinery. And sometimes it glitches. Just hit the elevator again. Eventually it'll open the door. All right. And we're going to go ahead and jump to the refinery. Bypass all that elevator stuff. Again, trying to keep these reasonable. Nobody wants to watch 2 hours of videos with, half an hour of it being flying around and running around. All right. So again, same deal. Go up to the refinement center. Start it again when it craps out. Hit begin. Pick your ship. And set up work order. All right. Again, we're going to go with Dinix solventation. We're going to go ahead and refine everything because we don't have any inert material this time. Got to hit both buttons. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and enter this in Regolith as another ship mining order. We got Terranite and aluminum this time. So we'll go ahead and enter our quantities. And these are the actual full quantities, not the yield on the screen. And then if you pick the correct station and the correct cell place, it'll actually give you the proper numbers. So we'll go up to here and click on Crew L1 or whatever your station is. Here we'll go to whatever planet you're going to sell at. We're going to sell at Crusader at Orison. And then we're going to enter our refinery fee. And at that point, we've got it. And as you can see, we're going to make another, what, 98, 90K. So that's it for this episode. Go ahead and hit confirm there. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one. Have a good day.